Welcome back to Trip Talk Tech. Your host Keith Tripp. We have a special show for you today. Honestly, if I'm being all the way authentic, we got gold status with us today. Now, let me tell y'all why I'm so geeked about our guest today. You know, it's not really because he's not gold status because he entering his third season at University of Rhode Island, amassing 42 wins in his early three-season tenure there as an assistant men's basketball coach. Not because of that. Our coach isn't GOAT status because he's completed 13 successful seasons of coaching at the Division I collegiate level, men's basketball level, including stops at Old Dominion, James Madison, George Washington, Georgetown. Not because of that, though. I'll guess, his high school coaching career would make most coaches' heads spin with a career record of 489 and 102, winning two national championships at the high school level, helping over 130 student athletes to get scholarships and chase their dreams to play the game of basketball. But that's not even why he's gold status. It's not even the fact that he's been an assistant and the men's head basketball coach for the USA Development 16U teams year over year. I think in 2011, Nike Global Counter Challenge head coach, coaching the likes of Quinn Cook, Anthony Davis, Rasheem Christmas, and you got the Quinn Cooks. You got them all, and he coached Brad Bill in that game, and that was before he was Bradley Bill. And don't get it twisted, y'all. Coach got some game himself. Coach put some work in the DMV area, and he did some work over at James Madison. But it's not even because of that. It's not even because of his 35 years of coaching experience that I'm hyped up about today. Why I'm hyped up about today is because I know that our guest today, after you leave this show, you're going to walk away a better person. I know, and I can almost guarantee, Coach is going to say something today that's going to impact your life in a way that you're going to leave with some pearls of wisdom that you didn't come here with. Hey, it's my pleasure, without further ado, to welcome the man, the guy, DMV's own, Coach Kevin Sutton. How you doing, man?
Oh, Keith, I'm blessed, man. Thanks so much for having me on. I was listening to that intro and I had to look around and see if it was somebody else you was talking about, man. But
We do our research. We do our research around here, Coach. Well, first of all, how you doing, man? How life treating you out in Rhode Island? I see a snowstorm out back.
Yeah, you know what? The first snowstorm of the year, and we probably got more snow yesterday than we did of all of last year, but it was one that we needed, and so I'm living a blessed life. I'm a blessed man. My family is all coming in town, for Christmas. My wife and my youngest daughter who are here. We just live a blessed life. So thanks so much for asking.
Hey, man, no problem. Hey, and I know you mentioned family, but I'm sure coaching right now isn't the easiest right now, going on with pandemic and everything like that. How's the team holding up? Like, how are you holding up?
You know what? I'll first, dive into the team. Right now our team is, knock on wood, is doing really, really well, and primarily because of our head coach, David Cox, who's from the DC area, and but he's, what, Keith, he's doing such a tremendous job of being our leader. He's
Good.
been so much of our leader, more than he's been the head coach. And what
Mm.
you're seeing and what I'm seeing right now, and there's a huge difference between a leader and a head coach. And what you and I both are seeing is you're seeing some coaches that want to just coach their team and make sure that they're prepared to win a game.
Mm-hmm.
But Coach Cox has been, a leader. He's led our program through going all the way back when this pandemic first started. He's been our leader. He's been more concerned about the health and mental health and well-being of our student athletes and our staff more than even winning games. So we're doing really, really well. Knock on wood, we play a very good Davidson team tonight, opening up league
Okay.
play. But our team is doing well. So I'm really pleased to be on a staff where we have a leader and not just a head coach. And right now in
Exactly.
our country and in this world, what we need is leaders. We
True.
don't need people who have that position, but we need people who are actually out there leading. And so coaching right now is it's a lot different than it's ever been, but
Hmm.
that's where good leadership comes in. And right now, David Cox is a tremendous leader.
That's what's up. Now, let me go on record. I want to be the first to say you guys and our entertainment, watching sports and getting through the pandemic. I want to put a checkbox. I don't know if I could vote for this after the fact, but you guys are critical employees. 'Cause-
You know what? It's funny because I had a conversation with one of my guys the other day, and I said, "I guess this makes us the essential workers."
yes, man. Hey, look, y'all should get some hazard pay because I was going crazy when all them sports was canceled.
Yeah, but it's interesting though.
All right.
You're right. We are the essential workers right now, and so it's an interesting time. It goes back to your point about coaching. And
Yeah.
the one thing that I say all the time, Keith, is everybody should love the game, but they also have to understand that it is a business.
Hmm.
And that's a truism. I mean, that's just a fact. This is a game that we all have grown to love, but
Hmm.
now we're seeing even more so, especially here at the collegiate level, that it's a business. So
Oh
we
man.
we have to respect it as such. Not
Hmm.
only as adults, but we have to understand that the student athlete in now in 2020 has
Hmm.
just become an essential employee, and we need to stop getting it twisted. So,
Exactly. Hazard pay. Get them some mental health pay, right?
oh, absolutely.
One thing you said in there, things are changing rapidly in college basketball, and one thing I read, I think the other day, they opened up the transfer rule, so I'm sure that's about to get real crazy, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Just yesterday, they voted, and the NCAA, they being NCAA, just voted that all transfers are immediately eligible. And you being in the business and me being in this business know that now that's the equivalent of free agency.
Yeah.
So,
At the college.
college level, the version of free agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to make things different. I
Mhm.
really personally feel for the high school student athletes in the class of 2021 and
Mhm.
2022, because the class of 2021 has never been evaluated in person by us, college coaches, and so it makes for a very, very difficult way of evaluating, because you're not truly getting an accurate evaluation. And here on your show, we're going to talk about the technological piece. Now that's become even more prevalent, of watching more tape of the student athletes that we have to recruit. So with the transfer rule, that just makes it so much difficult, so much more difficult, because now, immediate transfers from the collegiate level, kids
Mhm.
getting another year. That just pushes down the evaluations of the class of 2021, class of 2022, even further down. So yeah, it's an interesting time that we having right now in college athletics, especially in basketball.
You know what? Since you touched on it, let's stay there. The from the recruiting piece for those kids, and that's one of the groups. I wanted when I had in mind doing this show. That's what I had in mind. These 2020 kids, 2021 kids. I know they chomping at the bit, right? They've been working all their lives, and now this. What is my next step? How do I get myself out there? How do I get a coach like yourself to be able to see my game and not just a couple highlight flicks?
Yeah, you know what? That's really smart. I think that, Keith, that the ones that are going to be most successful in this, and throughout this whole pandemic, are the intrinsically motivated people. This age group that we're just talking about, the class of 2020 and class of 2021 and the
Hmm.
2022, they're going to have to be technologically savvy. They're going to have to spend more time putting together videos that are of substance. They already know how to use technology way better than I do. Let me just say that. But
All right.
so they're going to have to learn how to brand themselves and start to market themselves in such a way that it sparks interest.
Gotcha.
So, and then they're going to have to work with their high school coaches and be more diligent about putting out again videos and information that is of substance. And even more so, I would highly suggest to the kids in high school is to be really careful about how they use social media, because now
Good
um,
point.
with not having the opportunity to go out, we are totally researching all of social media,
Gotcha.
to find out about these student athletes, because how I recruit, their talent is one thing,
Hmm.
but I got to find out, does he treat the lady in the lunchroom the same way, he treats, his guidance counselor the same way.
Character.
Yeah, the character piece is really, really, really important. So one way you do that is you search their social media. They put it out there, right? You know,
Hey,
uh,
look. So kids, be careful. Stop. And also with that, what you see in that is what you're saying, Coach. Even if I have a kid out there who is a great kid, but he's trying to fit in, and then
mhm.
his social media is saying fit in, you
Yes,
just passed on that kid because of his. That's not even him.
it's too risky for me to you know jump 2 feet in and start to recruit this young man, and get all excited and get my boss excited, and you
Mhm.
you know how that happens when you get your excited.
He
And then
wants you to put this.
yeah, so you got to be really careful that way. So I would highly recommend to the student athletes to be really careful of what they put out on social media. Make sure you put out substantive content that's going to put them in their best light, because that's what we have right now. Because since we cannot go out and physically see them, and then also be a person who's a man of character, and not a person who is a character. So.
Good point. Good point. Now, one thing you kept saying, and what you're looking for, say online or with the technology piece, is substance. What's a video of substance? Can you define that for the student athlete?
Yeah, I mean, when they send out a highlight tape, it's just that it's a highlight. It's showing all the things that they do well. So I would recommend, sending out along with the highlights, sending out, full games that with clarity. You know, when they play in these events, make sure that the streaming is good. Make sure that everything is of quality, because they're making an impression. Keith,
Hmm.
that's their first impression. And,
Gotcha.
and sometimes things are out of their control. When they play in some of these events, and they show up with black jerseys, and the other team shows up with black jerseys, and then they still show that game. That's difficult to watch.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So you want to always try to put your best foot forward. When you want to make sure you check and recheck and double check, triple
Hmm.
check, and have other eyes, checking it, because you always want to put your best foot forward, and you want to put out quality content.
Gotcha.
So not along with the highlight tapes, but put out full game tapes, or and show give us access to full game tapes.
Okay.
And also just do things that's going to be different, that puts you in a
In the
light.
conversation.
Yeah, puts you in a conversation that moves you from the bottom of the pile of recruits to the top of the pile. You know,
Gotcha.
I would recommend, if I was still a high school coach, that I would make sure that my student athletes are shown, not only working in the community,
Hmm.
but also doing community service, events, and just try to show who they totally are as a person, not just one dimensional. Just try to show how they're multidimensional and some of the other interests that they have. Some of these kids are unbelievable musicians. Some of these kids are, like you said, technologically savvy, and they know what they're doing. So
Uh-huh.
why not showcase those talents as well? And some of these kids are doing some phenomenal things in their communities. Where they live right now, and the larger community abroad. Why not showcase that? If you're trying to market yourself and trying to brand yourself, wouldn't you do that? I know you
Yeah,
would. 'Cause
definitely.
right.
Exactly. And like you said, um, it was almost like when my son was coming up, or when we were coaching kids, it was be more than a basketball player. That's not your identity. That's what you do. That's a thing
Yeah.
you do. Not Don't be a basketball player. Basketball players have a life. They have a end date on their
Yeah.
life shelf. So
They have a shelf life.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. Shelf life. So, Coach, you said one thing earlier, and really the driving force for me, really wanting to get you on the show. You touched on leadership, And for me, that and for the audience, that's my tie-in between basketball and technology for today. And that was from a leadership standpoint because me leading an IT organization, I felt like a lot of the tools that I got or a lot of the background that I got came from the game of basketball or from back when I used to coach AAU or coach the youth coming up. And that link is kind of where you came in. Let me explain my relationship, guys, to coach, so you just understand what kind of man he is. Now, I don't know him like an everyday friend, like, hey, I've known him since back in the day or whatever. I met this guy recruiting my son probably in 2013. He we had a commonality. His son is named Isaiah, so it's mine, and that kind of linked us up. But we going back and forth in emails, maybe 3 months, 90-day recruiting period. Met one time on a recruiting trip. I think you had Joe McDonald there. He was probably your top recruit. Was a great player.
Yeah.
So, and I say that not to disrespect my own son, but to just say what type of person he is. So my son wasn't necessarily the top recruit there, but we came in, met this guy, great man, and when I left, he you left me with a scripture, and you left my son with the same scripture, and it was Luke 12:48. To whom much is given, much more is expected. And when I left you, I internalized that. Um, Outside of basketball for my son or that rat race of trying to find a D1 scholarship, I look back at my life and what I was doing at that time, the team that I was leading, and I had to look at that. It wasn't just about being a boss and lording over people, more so than it was about leadership. And you've been given a great responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with it? And
Mm-hmm.
and taking that and internalize it and then looking at how I was managing or leading. Actually, I think that was a transition. When I really looked at the time when I got it, I was managing. But after, it was about leading. And leading is about service. And leading is about doing for others so that they develop more so than necessarily your gains right away or your gains tomorrow or my paycheck or more people to manage. I realized it wasn't about that, and and again, I thank you. Like I said, we made a relationship from that point on to now,
Yeah, absolutely.
based off of that. Again, one little pearl of wisdom. I don't even know if you knew it went that deep, but again, I think, and like I told you before we started, once I got that, it just made me to kind of focus a little bit more into you and some of your leadership qualities and some of the things that you put out there. And I just know this is some dimes that can help other people. So I just wanted to talk to you. I think again in IT and leadership, and I think leadership across. I mean, whether it's IT or any business, I think this is useful information. But as a Division I basketball coach, like, how do you see your role as a leader? Or I know you talked about Coach Dave Cox as a leader. Do you see yourself in that same position as a coach?
Yeah, you know what, Keith? First and foremost, thank you for that. But yeah, I do see myself as a leader, and I learned that a long time ago. I was I've always been a captain of my team, but that's a title. And
Mm-hmm.
but even when I wasn't given the title of captain of my team, I still carried myself in such a way as a leader. Because a captain, like you said, is a title, and like we said, is a title. But I wanted to be more than just a title. And I think that leadership is such a way you could be a leader without having to ever have the title of captain, boss, or whatever. And so I've always carried my life that way. And I had back to scripture. I'm a scripture-based person, and when I came across that passage, my grandmother had told me that years and years and years, and so had my dad. And but sometimes when you're a kid, the information goes in this left ear,
Roll off.
and then later on, but it seeped in. And I remember coming across that Bible passage when I first got into coaching. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I read it, and it just resonated with me. And I really understood at that point, in order to be as good a coach as I possibly could be and wanted to be, that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be more than that, and it had to start with servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And because also in the Bible it says the greatest among us became servant to all. And those two go hand in hand for me. From that point on, I started to do a lot of introspection to define who I wanted to be as a coach. And I knew that leadership was the foundational piece. I've
Mm-hmm.
always taken a holistic approach, to development with any program that I've been a part of, and so right here at Rhode Island, I'm just trying to bloom where I planted. I'm trying to be a great assistant coach, for David, David Cox, and try to help him, build a program he wants. And then I'm also trying to service the young men that I serve. As a leader, as a role model, I take all those responsibilities very seriously because I have been blessed, in my life and in my coaching career to have accomplished a great deal.
Yes.
And so
Yep.
the responsibility that I have, I call it the handshake with God, is the responsibility that I have is to now um, turn and pour into the young men and the people, the
Yep.
people,
Yep.
not just the people on not just the young men on my team, but any person that I come in contact with, and that listens to something that I have to say, or reads something that I wrote, or calls me up and we have a conversation. I have a responsibility to tell them some of the things that I've experienced, and then it's up to them. Like for me, in the conversation that you and I had, that was placed on my heart to share with you on that day. Did I
Mm-hmm.
know that it would resonate and have an impact on you? No, I didn't. But it was, and even if I did know it was going to have an impact on you, it wasn't about me anyway. It was for you.
Appreciate
So
that.
I think that being a leader is like a handshake, part of the handshake deal
For God.
with our God, to have the responsibility to impact as many people as we possibly can. And what's been my life mission. If anybody ever asks me what my mission, statement is to impact as many lives as I can through this game of basketball with the platform that I have as a coach, to create living trophies.
Yeah, we gonna get into those living trophies a little later because that's your thing too. But uh, from a leadership fellowship, I've heard you talk about that. Can you share that just briefly, kind of with the audience, what that means to you, and again, any future leaders out there that might can get some nuggets on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, leadership and fellowship go hand in hand. We everybody, the buzzword in all industries now is buy-in.
Hmm.
We got to get buy-in. We got to get buy-in. You got to get the players to buy in. You got to get the people who
Team
are,
value.
yeah, you got to get your team to buy in. But I'm a firm believer that you got to get them to believe in. If you get them to believe in you, if you impact their heart, then you can reach their minds. And if you get them to believe in you, okay, then they're more readily able and willing to buy in. So
Mm-hmm.
leadership and fellowship, go hand in hand. And the one thing that I've learned over the years is that when we take a vested interest in the people that we serve, and we learn about them as people, and what makes them work and what motivates them and how they learn. So you take a vested interest in them, and you show, concern, and you use your emotional intelligence, then you're creating opportunities for them to believe in you. Okay. And then once they start to believe in you, then they'll start to buy into you as a leader, and then they're more readily able to follow. And I'll give you an example real briefly.
Okay.
Um, from a basketball perspective, all coaches, we take our best player, we put them in the front of the line, okay, on every drill, okay, and we expect them to, to do the drill right. That's putting a lot of pressure on
One kid.
that one person, to make sure, okay. But where the fellowship piece comes in is like I try to rotate the leaders of my drills every
Oh,
time, and here's how, so if I put Keith at the front of the line for drill number one, I do all my teaching points through Keith. And then next drill number two, I'll say, Kevin, you take the lead. And now Keith now moves from a leadership
I like
position
the
to the end of
12-5.
the line. Okay, so now he has to learn how to follow. Because at some point and I use this in high school because I'd have tremendous leaders and they were seniors, and then they would go on to college. And then that transition between their senior year of high school and their freshman year of
Right.
college, they went from the top of the totem pole to now to the bottom of the totem pole. And some of them struggled. They
Mentally with that, yeah.
yes, they struggled because they were, they struggled
Big
because
dog.
they were leaders. And now that they got to learn how to be a servant. They got to
Mhm.
learn how to be a follower. And so leadership and followership is important. And you notice to be true when the birds fly south, they fly in a V formation, and then the one person that's at the point of the V,
Yeah,
everybody is
that's fine.
talking to him, and then eventually he doesn't take the trips from Rhode Island to Florida. He's
He moves and takes some of
when
that win.
he gets tired, he cycles to the back of the line, and then they move somebody else up. Okay, so now when he's moved to the back of the line, his voice has to be even louder because he was just in the lead, and everybody was encouraging him to keep flapping, keep flapping, keep flapping. You just don't get to go to the back of the line and be quiet. Now you got to be even more of a leader. And I think it's really important that leadership and followership go hand in hand, and people keep them both in their proper perspective. Then you have something that could be really, really special.
True. And one thing you mentioned in there that I think another thing I learned from basketball that transitioned over into corporate America was relationships, genuine relationships. How do you feel about that? I know for me, even like I said in recruiting, we weren't necessarily on the top of the board,
Yeah.
but I think our relationship, even I mean now with this conversation, is
Yeah.
authentic. Like how do you think that works?
Well, it's a relationship-based business. I've always been that type of person to be able to relate with a lot of different people on a lot of different levels,
Hmm.
and I really do take a great deal of pride of that now. When I was younger, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I just knew.
Just cool with everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Now they got fancy names for it, and all that type of stuff. But it's a relationship-based business, and the one thing that I've learned through this business is just if you are a prime example of it. Okay, is to be as honest and transparent and authentic as you possibly can, and and be truthful. And so throughout the whole process, you knew where that I was being honest and being truthful. Okay, and if I lose a recruit, I'm going to be the first one. As disappointed as I am, I'm still going to calm those emotions and tell, the student athlete, I wish them the best of luck. And if any way I can honestly help them, please don't hesitate. And I
Mhm.
really, truly mean that. And it is, Keith, it has happened, I want to say at least 4 times where that student athlete went to another school and it didn't work out. And they have called me, okay, to either help them move on to their next spot or
Oh,
come
wish
where I am. And it's all because I try to
relation.
touch and have relationships with that circle of influence that's on an honest level. Okay. And it's on a transparent level. So I think that if we can continue to do that, as human beings, things will be so much better.
So much easier. One other thing that I think that struck me in that D1 rap race when we were going through and meeting coaches and seeing things and learning new things, like you said, some coaches like yourself straight up. Then you have other coaches not so. Again, it's about winning. I get that. But the question really is about humility. I think I learned that through the process. Had to be humble. Sometimes you might hear some things that are the truth that might hit you in the gut.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might think with your package is much bigger than the next one. But like I said, I think the transition into corporate America, what I did see was humility is needed. Sometimes people are going to challenge you. Sometimes you're right and the next person is wrong. But how does humility play with you in your role in coaching?
Yeah. You know what? Again, it goes back to scripture, and God says in his word, he who humbles himself shall be exalted, and he who exalts himself shall be humbled.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be exalted, so I've humbled myself to understand, who I am and whose I am,
True.
so knowing that I'm at peace with myself, and I know that, you know, when I try to lead as a coach and in my coaching career is always try to be as humble as I possibly can. My
Mhm.
wife says my humility is probably my stumbling block, but I don't think so, because I think that I'm serving the Lord, where I am, and
Mhm.
being humble is a part of being about being secure. One thing I used to do all the time, Keith, is and I still to this day do, is tell my players about being this secure versus being insecure. You know, so
Okay.
and here's an example. You know, Keith is a two guard, Kevin is a two guard. You
Okay.
know, and we're both going for that starting two guard spot. But we're in a shooting drill. You know, and I'm the passer, and you're shooting first, and then we have a rebounder. I'm going to ask you, where do you like the ball? Do you want it up on your shoulders? Do you want it low? You know, where do you want the ball? Because I'm going to I'm going to put
Where
that on
best
time, on target every time, because we're in a competition. And then you go up there and you make 8 straight, okay? And then it's my turn. And then I'm going to ask you, then I'm going to tell you where I want the ball, because I am expecting you now to throw me the ball where I'd
your
like to,
pocket at your
yeah,
shot
my
pocket.
back pocket. Because if I'm going to beat you, okay, I want to beat you at your best. I don't want to beat you because I threw the ball behind your head, down at your feet, and
Gosh.
then you only made 5. You made 5 shots, okay. You know, and then I go up there and I make 10. You know, I beat you, but I didn't beat you at your best. You know, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't help make you your best. And a part of that is being secure in who you are.
You are.
You know,
Yep. Exactly.
without being arrogant. When I was in Montverde, I used to invite all the coaches in the area to come over and bring their players to work out with our players. And one day, one of my players said, "Coach, why do you invite all these teams over? We play them." And I said, "Because I want you to see in me what being secure is. Okay. I don't care if they come and work out with us. I don't care if they get better working out with us. I want you to be secure in who you are. Okay. That
Yeah.
you don't mind that they come in here. Okay. And that they get better. Okay. And that when we play them, they may beat us. And that's okay. Okay. But let me just tell you, this is about being showing. I'm sending a message to every coach in this area that
I'm not scared. I'm not worried. You can come in.
you can, you can
And
come
it
in.
is what it is. You can come and
Yeah,
see it. This is what we're going to bring to you.
this is what it is, you know, but it's about being secure versus being insecure without the ego piece.
Gosh,
I never had to run around and tell people, you
that
know,
you who you are.
yeah, exactly.
My man. My man. So, and just what you said, you don't have to run around and tell people that because you kind of came up, you earned it.
Mhm.
What do you tell the next striving Division 1 basketball coach or any basketball coach, high school basketball, or any person looking at leadership in their company? What will you tell them as far as how do I start? What should I be doing to kind of transition myself into leading people?
Yeah, you know that's a great question, and you use one of the words that I use all the time. You know, and that word is striving. You know,
Oh,
so I'm sure you've already received a text from me, and I always say this, and I say keep striving,
yes, you do.
and keep serving. Okay, keep sharing. You know,
Hmm.
and then eventually you're going to keep soaring. And so I say to the next generation of coaches and leaders, to coming up to do the hard work of introspection.
Hmm.
Look at who you are, and start to define who you are through a vision statement, a
Okay.
value statement, and a mission statement. And then when you come to doing the hard work and understanding who you are, guess
Hmm.
what? You're going to be so much better off, because now when you become those things, people are going to gravitate to you. They're going to
Gotcha.
know what you're about and what you stand for. And so then you're going to start to attract those type of student athletes and people, okay, to you.
Gotcha.
But it starts with you understanding who you are. And then the second thing that I would say to the next generation, and I do all the time, is yes, love this game. I absolutely love this game of basketball. This game of basketball has taken me uh, around this world. I mean, it's taken, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but
But it's real. I
it,
know
it,
what you
it,
mean. The same thing with technology for me. I've
yeah,
been to countries that I probably never would have dreamed of.
no way. I mean, and so it's taken me around the world, and I've loved this game, and I've loved it back, and it's loved me back. Um,
Hmm.
but it's also a business, and the earlier that you start to understand that it is a business, then you, as you continue to navigate your career, you can start to make business decisions
Decision.
versus emotional decisions,
You got it.
and that's important. And then lastly is like that I say all the time, to the next generation of coaches is start to look at people in their programs and how they run their programs, and start to study them, because you got so much information at our disposal now, and start to study them, not just the wins and losses, but start to study successful people, uh, and then take from those successful people those things that can help you and discard everything else. And
Okay.
then you start to formulate who you are, and you'll become the best version of yourself. And the next thing you know, people will want to be studying you.
There you go, man. Y'all got the dime from them. Hey, look, coach, as we wrap up real quick, I know we talked about this with recruiting, and just, they got to put themselves out there. Is it any specific like applications? Is it just YouTube? Is it Huddle? I know the Huddle with the high school coaches that gives you guys game access. Is it kind of anything you recommend out there that, hey, if you can put your stuff here, it'll probably get more traction in other places, or is it just again about self promotion?
Yeah, so you got to put it in all those different spaces, to be honest with you, because there's so many different spaces, right now, Keith, and some universities have more money than others.
True, true.
So and so some universities aren't going to be able to access certain spots. So you want to be really careful to just put it just where Huddle is, or just over here,
Gotcha.
being making an assumption that all colleges have access to it. Not all of them do. So you want to try to put yourself in, different spaces, much like you and much like myself as adults when we're trying to promote what we're doing. I do a Zoom called Living Trophies Master Zoom class. So I'll put that information out on Twitter. I'll put that information out on LinkedIn. I'll put it out on IG.
Gotcha.
But so you got to try to put it out in different areas, and so you can attract different types of people, and give yourself as many opportunities as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing you just said about self-promotion, and you know this to be true, there's a huge difference between branding yourself
Mm-hmm.
and self-promotion.
True.
And so one is authentic, and one is just that. It's self-promotion.
Promotion.
Yeah, self-serving. But marketing and branding yourself in such a way is like, this is who I am, this is what I
And what I
do,
do.
and
Yep.
this is what I do. And then you're going to start to attract that level of school, and that type of school, and that type of coach. And then the relationship will be a little bit more authentic and organic. But
Uh-huh.
when you do the self-promotion, piece where I'm just trying to get it out there and just trying to get how many likes and all that other type of stuff, then it
People
starts.
don't really take you
Yeah,
seriously.
right. They don't take you seriously, and it starts to devalue your message.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And one thing you said in there, the Living Trophies piece, at Trip Talk Tech, we philanthropic as well. But I know that's your overall vision, your living trophies. Can you talk about that a little bit? What that means to you? I've read a lot on it. I mean,
Yeah,
you got a lot of living testimonies out there,
yeah,
man.
yeah. You know what, Keith? It's been just tremendous. It's helped me understand, what my why is and why I do what I do, and why
Hmm.
the Lord has blessed me with the talents that He's blessed me with. One year at Montverde, we went 30-0, and we won a national championship. And we had 15 players, 10 varsity players and 5 players from the JV, so 15 total players on that team. And they embodied everything um, that all my years of experience of my dream of what a team was supposed to be. They got along really well. They came from several different countries. They were serious students. They weren't all rocket scientists. Some of them were, but some were. They were serious,
Somewhere.
some were. They were serious student athletes, and they all had dreams, and they all had goals and aspirations. And every day they worked towards it, and they started living it out. In that particular year, yes, we won 30 games and we were undefeated, but we were undefeated whether we were 0-30 with that particular team. And it really solidified what our program was about. So after winning that last game, a reporter came to me and said, in one word, can you describe this team? And I said, no, I can't describe this team in one word, but I will describe this team in one term. It's living trophy. And to me, a living trophy is a person who is accepted what you as the leader and as a coach, all that you have poured into them. You have
Hmm.
listened to their dreams. You've been that ladle. that positively poured into their buckets and filled their buckets up, and you've impacted their lives in such a way through this game of basketball and through whatever platform that you may have. A living trophy is a byproduct of a trusted relationship, where a student athlete trusts you to impact their lives, and they've allowed you to impact their lives, and then they go off and become everything that they would hope that they could become: a father, a successful businessman, a professional athlete, a scientist, go to Harvard University. And so a living trophy is a student athlete or person that you serve, that has allowed you as their leader to impact their lives in a positive way. Because we all want to win trophies. And when we do, we take those trophies and we put them in a trophy case. And then 5 years or 10 years later, we bring that trophy out of the trophy case and we reenact that picture. Well, that trophy has 10 years of dust. But when you take the opportunity to be a ladle that pours into the dreams and hopes and aspirations of our student athletes, they become living trophies. And like you said, not only your living trophies, but your living testimonies. And I'm so honored and so blessed to have had the opportunity to impact as many lives as I have had through this game of basketball and continue to have through this game of basketball. And yes, living trophies is something that is so important to me. And like I said, I everything I try to do in this game is impact as many lives as I can, and create those living trophies.
Oh man. Hey, look, Coach. It's been about everybody that you've helped and touched, including myself. So I gotta ask you a mental health question. What do you do for Coach Kevin, man? You always seem to, like your wife said, you seem to just be so humble when you do and do and do and do and do and do. How do you feel yourself? How do you put back into yourself?
Yeah, you know what? I do pour back into myself. And I'll say this, Keith. We hear it every time that you're on an airplane. It says, if this airplane is going to go down, in case of emergency, if this airplane is going to go down, put the oxygen mask
Put
on
your
yourself
best.
first, okay, before you help others. So
Yeah, yeah.
I do selfishly take the time to pour into myself, because I can't help anybody else if I don't. And this is what I do. I spend time with the Lord as much as I possibly can. Meditate in the morning. Certainly when I first get up. Do my Bible study, do my devotionals. Love listening to spirituals and gospels, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, not just religious podcasts, but different types of podcasts of leadership, spiritual. Now I really am into the mental health piece now.
I am too, man. People don't get it, man. But I think
Yeah,
we've been stigmatized as men
yeah,
to look at that as weak. But I find so much more about myself internally.
yes. And isn't and it's really good. The good, and when you look inside yourself and you find some things that you need to work on and some other things that you're doing pretty well. It gives you balance. And once you can have that balance, then you're able to serve other people. And that's what I want to do. And one thing that I try to do is I try to on a daily basis is give people hope, and I use hope as an acronym for help other people excel. So that's what I try to do. And when I pour into other people, it's
It
interesting
comes back.
that yeah, it comes back so much more.
Yeah.
So I started to study that, and I started to really look into that. And you mentioned this, and I want to say this to your audience. You know, there is a stigma, and it's been perpetuated that one, Black and the African American people of minorities, they don't seek help. Males, they don't seek help.
Mm-hmm.
Athletes, they don't seek help,
Don't seek help. No.
because in those and you and I, we fall into all three of those categories. So, you know, so
So for us to go get help, and that's a great
yeah,
point you just made. If you're fighting with that mentally to go over that hump, it is like you said, if you any of those three things, you're probably going to say no. The initial
right,
reaction is to say forget it,
right.
but fight that like you would anything else and just take the first step. Because to your point, you'll have that routine. I do a lot of the same things in the morning, like meditation, workout, all before 6 or 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
But the confidence you get inside, it'll change your life in so many different ways.
it really will. It really truly will. And if I share nothing else with your audience, I'd like to share that piece that uh, there's foolish pride in this world, so don't have it.
Good point, coach. All right, man. As we wind down, we ask everyone this question on our show. And you've coached at a lot of schools. I mean, you've won championships, so I know you've seen heck of tennis shoes. But what are your favorite shoes, Coach? You gotta have a favorite, and I know you played, so we can go back to the Chuck Taylors. We can all time, Coach. Now I know you
Yeah,
was around up in that Potomac Valley area, so.
yeah. You know what, Keith? I mean, yeah, I'm a sneakerhead to the end. You know,
All right, there you
I'm a
go. There you
sneakerhead
go.
to the end, man. And it's funny you said that, man. I remember vividly, man. I'm with an Adidas school right now. I've been a Nike guy all my life. I'm with Adidas school right now, and I remember in sixth grade, my cousin Tommy Amaker and we ran down to Samson Sporting Goods
Okay, I know exactly.
okay, and we got our $30 together. I got a blue pair of shell toe Adidas. Okay,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and TA got a red pair of shell toe Adidas, man. And you would have thought, man, we was it. But my all time favorite shoes, okay, Nike Air Force Ones, man. Just the ones. I mean, you
Okay.
just you know
Yeah.
they timeless, they classic. And like I said, I'm with an Adidas school right now, so we rock a lot of Stan Smiths, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
which is tight. But I'm telling you right now, those
Forces,
Nike
the
Air
white
Force,
on white.
hey Keith, hey, your audience, I might be dating myself, but your audience gotta understand, man.
Oh, they know and see a lot of, and a lot of our audience is from Baltimore, so I know we all
Yeah,
DMV, but
yeah,
Baltimore especially, the Air Force Ones, that's special in our heart. They
yeah.
came from Baltimore, so
Because
we
hey,
all the time.
Keith, they know they know that when you put that George Gervin poster up on their wall, when him sitting on the ice cubes, and stop it, stop it,
All
stop
right,
it,
sit down. I see.
stop it, Iceman, what? Come on, man.
Well, hey, Coach, I want to thank you, man. I know
Absolutely.
you're in season. I really do appreciate you taking your time, man, dropping these jewels on us today. Um, Also, for me, I know you weren't asking, and I'm not saying you're looking for any kind of job change, but I'm telling you, your Dells, your Microsofts, your Cisco's, all you guys doing all these leadership training, you missing the boat. I get it. Stephen Covey, he's cool, but I'm trying to tell you, you need somebody that you can touch, that you can feel, somebody that's a winner, that is proven, and it's what he do.
Yeah,
I appreciate you, Coach. Hey, man, I know that the audience is going to love this one. I'm
yeah.
excited. Good luck tonight against Davidson. I
Appreciate it.
appreciate Coach. Stay in contact. I definitely we're going to promote the living trophies. You're going to see all of the information up on the site and on the video. I thank you, Coach.
All
You
right,
have a
man.
good
You be blessed, brother. Appreciate you.
you too, bro. All right.